Yeah, Jen, I'm assuming the biggest headline right now is kind of just the status of Hannah Stuelke. Obviously, it's probably an understatement to say that she's been banged up over the last few games. Just kind of curious, how she's feeling over the last couple days and what her status is with still, whatever 50, 53 hours until you guys play.
Well, it's not as good as I'd like. Um, we're not, we don't practice today, but it's, if you saw the injury, it was pretty banged up. And, with adrenaline, it's an amazing thing about adrenaline. But after that settled, the swelling and the pain of it. So that's definitely a concern moving forward.
Targan.
Just to be able to get Journey a couple starts here the last few weeks, and then obviously Tegan and Layla had some nice moments with Hannah kind of iffy. How significant I guess is that at this point in the year?
Yeah, I think that was great that we can get Journey those minutes, and she's just really been a great bright spot this whole year, and has just played hard. She comes in and she just makes a difference because she plays so hard. So yeah, I'm very excited about her being able to step in. But I mean, you know, anybody will tell you, any team in the country, kind of what makes Journey so good and what made our team good is that you have one of the premier players in the conference and one of the premier players in the country. So that's a lot to put on. I'll go to bat with Journey Houston all day long for sure. But that's a tough ask if we don't have Hannah healthy. So yes, I'm very excited about and thankful for Journey, but to do what we want to continue to do, it gets a little bit tougher if we don't have Hannah Stalky.
Ethan.
Hey, Coach, I've been wanting to ask all season about the picture of you and Lucy behind you over your right shoulder. What's
Yeah.
the quote on there? And then also, when it comes to recruiting a player like Chit Chat, how helpful is it to be able to point to Lucy's success as a transfer in and be able to say, you can take over the reins of this, illustrious point guard position that we have?
Yeah, yeah. And that was actually a gift from Lucy, and I will cherish it always. She probably had a little help from her mom, but it's kind of this cool acrylic thing, a couple of pictures. And Lucy, after the banquet, just said, "Thank you, Coach. You're the best on this hug." And this one, this is from our USC game, and there must have been a quote talking to one of you guys. It just was, I told her, "You know how much I believe in you. It's go time." And she just took that picture and wrote me a really nice card. And it just is, always, it meant a lot to me, when the kids write you after the year. But, Lucy, I think I probably said it too many times, but when we needed a point guard, after Caitlin retired, went on and Lisa retired, she held. And we went through that first year together, and she really wanted to be able to enjoy this level and succeed at this level. Not that Villanova was not great, but she was really wanting to have an opportunity at a Power Four and then to get drafted. So when all that came to fruition, and we had a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and that's what that journey is all about. So I got it, and it never left, and that will probably never leave my desk.
Chad.
Grateful for her and her family for sure.
Yeah. Back to Hannah. Is it a pain tolerance thing? You obviously have 2 weeks after this tournament.
Hmm.
Or is
Yeah,
it
I
more
think
of
it's
a precaution thing that you're worried
oh
about?
yeah, no, I mean it's
Long-term
all of
thing.
it. It's a pretty severe elbow injury of the torque of it, the swelling, the range of motion, the pain, the length of time of probably what really takes an injury like this to feel better. She has not practiced, and the trying to figure out when to try it, right? And I think she'll go, if she can go, she'll go through with some of that adrenaline, but it's her strong hand, her dominant arm. So we're just trying to give it as much rest to see what it feels like. But there's a lot more than just the pain tolerance. It's just if you can't move, it can't move. If it can, you can do some things with it. So we're just trying to give it every minute. And that is the positive thing is if, we do get to play again later. It's not season ending. And maybe, every day, sometimes there's small increments and the improvement we need to see. Sometimes there's a bigger jump. So I know she'll want to play. But I think right now it's everything we're trying to see improve with it. So I know, just being a senior and, how much fun a Big Ten tournament is. I know that if it's, if she can play and feel like she can play and be helpful, she'll play. But right now we're just not in that mode of practicing even to see if she can do it. But like I said, I'm a positive person and we're taking off today for the team's practice and we'll go again tomorrow before we fly into Indy. And, if we don't have her on tomorrow, that doesn't mean, we won't give her a shot on Friday. She's a senior, she can pick up if we're doing this, tweak against either Michigan State or Illinois or doing that tweak. It's not her first rodeo there. I'm just trying to figure out mentally the best routes for, her, how that feels. Your first action is going to be right away into a game. So we're trying to just get little testings done. But today's fully off.
Maddie.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to ask about Addie getting all Big Ten freshman squad. I mean, we've seen her kind of really make her adjustments into Big Ten play, but for her to be able to get the accolade along with it, how has that kind of helped with her confidence and just showing the progression she's been on this year?
Yeah, I've been really pleased with Addie. There's and with Journey, and with all of our new kids. Actually, it is it's a climb, and there's a lot of things that go into becoming a more confident player from Monday to Tuesday, from Tuesday to the next Tuesday to the next month. And I think Addie's really been a really great testament to that. And I think that Addie, along with Tegan's and Callie's and Strimlow's and Feuerbach's, everybody is growing and giving and taking and doing whatever is necessary for the progression of the team. And as everybody's giving and working so hard to fulfill those roles whenever they're needed, I think everybody's taken some really great steps forward. And I think Addie has really done a really beautiful job. And I'm really, really happy that she got recognized. Really, really thrilled for her and us.
Kyle.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about the Big Ten tournament this year for you guys. I mean, you've mentioned that over the years as an assistant coach, you went through basically every situation with Lisa, but now as a head coach, you look back at last year, you guys were playing on the first day, so you always knew who the next opponent was up. If you won, it was going to be Michigan State. If you won, it was going to be Ohio State. Now you're on the opposite end where you're kind of sitting around and waiting to see who you're going to play. Just how do you kind of make that adjustment with the difference of instead of knowing who you're going to play, you're kind of sitting around and waiting a little bit? How do you kind of go through the process of game planning and getting ready for that?
Yeah, I mean, kind of what you've done, even as assistants, kind of the template, which I'm sure is not unlike anybody else. You're kind of looking about all the what ifs and some of the things you didn't do well, whether you won or lost against certain opponents. Some of the things you expect to see against certain opponents, whether they press, whether they switch, whether they trap, all the things is the things that you need to shore up. You try to work on those generally. Because once you get in it, Thursday, tomorrow when we practice, you kind of have to give equal time to both opponents. And that's what I did earlier in the week. The different things that, went well, I want to make sure we shore them up against either Michigan State or Illinois. The things that in both times we didn't maybe handle as well, I try to give attention to that and tweak that a little bit. Plus, you won't have time. Let's say you run into, you're fortunate enough to get through the first one. Illinois does X, Y, and Z. We got to get through the first one. Michigan State does X, Y, and Z. We got to get through the first one. But you do have to have your eye on, okay, if we get through the first one, you don't have a full practice for the next opponent. So both of those, whoever that's going to be, is if you got to give some time to the press, right? You got to give some time to a zone, right? So I've just tried to go through a practice and not go too long, but do a little bit for, the next 2 to 3 opponents we could face. And that's how I have handled it. Plus, try to give us a little more attention on what I've liked and maybe where we've been not quite as sharp offensively. But it is, when you have 2 really great teams in this league, from 2 to, the 11, 12 seeds, I mean, everybody's pretty doggone good. And it's been typically for all those teams, it's 1, 2 possessions here or there that takes you from a 4th seed down to an 8th seed, or from a 6th seed down to an 11th seed. So that's what makes March fun and the madness of it.
Gargan.
I know obviously you're going down there to try to win every game that you're playing, but with the way that you guys finished, does it feel like maybe it's taken a little bit of the pressure off to go down there and do something specific?
Yeah. Well, I just feel like, I'm just so grateful and, of how we were able to go through this year. We were so resilient. We were just really team focus, able to form and reform. I think there's very few teams in the country that really would have continued to kind of find themselves after losing one of their top, shooting targets with McCabe. I think we've, got tested a little bit with Chit Chat. We still found a way early to win that tournament in Florida. When she went out, Kylie went out a while. So that, I think, when I look back on this year, regardless of what happens this weekend or in postseason, to finish like we did, to finish, I don't even know where our record is, but I think it's pretty good, right? And our conference record. That's just such a testament to, I think, what Iowa women's basketball has always been. But as I've talked to you so often about, is in this new era of, easily the portals and the, all the entities that, can attack a culture. That I'm forever grateful for. And so the regular season as it stands, boy, thankful and so proud of these kids and how we finished in a league like this. Man, yeah. So I feel great about that. And just, man, I think when I'm old and in the rocking chair, I can look back on this year and say, man, that was a heck of a one, right? But now, it's a Johnny come lately, right? What have you done for me lately? So going into the tournament, I think we've done pretty well all year just trying to stay in the here and now. I think we can go in there in the here and now and feel comfortable that we're going to have a pretty good shot with a pretty solid seed in that NCAA tournament. If you go and do crazy great things, it can only enhance what already is pretty doggone good. So it is nice to go in there and feel like it should be pretty doggone good, right? Should be. But, every game that you could win maybe lessens that, pressure, I guess, or the anxiety of not knowing. But yes, I think going in as a 2 seed, and not having to do something that is, you can look at it that way. But I think most everybody, when you go, you're going there to win it. So it's, I think, yes, you're right. But I think you're also, when you get into it, everybody wants that net. So I think when we get there, it won't be about the seeding or about the NCAA tournament. It'll just be like, can we get Michigan State or Illinois to get a shot at the next round?
Chad.
That was very Kirk Ferency to not know your record, which is 24-5, by the way.
Well, you know what? I knew it was around there, but then you kind of like, I'm not always good with numbers. I'm much better with words.
Speaking of the 24-5, what would your record be without Kylie Feuerbach this year, and how popular was her all defensive award this year?
Oh, yeah, that was just, yeah, I think when Kylie chose to come back, I was thrilled about that because she's just lovely. She's just been a really great kid to coach, and us having a more of a defensive focus last year, and then of course this year, that's been really pretty important for what we've been trying to do. But also knowing that Kylie's really not one for a lot of individual accolades, but that defensive team, we all thought, that would have been a good place for her last year, right? We were hoping for that. But I think right away in the offset, and then her position coach, Abby Stamp, she was really on a mission to make sure it wasn't just about blocks and rebounds and steals, because usually on that team, and I think, as with any of voting, all of you people are busy. And, it just, you can defer to, we all include, you can defer to stats, and you can defer to records, you can defer to whatever that news bite is, and like, oh, they must be the ones. That kid must be the defender. That kid must be the best player of the year. And if you don't really delve into it, sometimes you can miss the story. And so I thought it was really cool that I think Abby Stamp took it upon herself, I think, to really make sure that people saw how Kylie was really, maybe she doesn't have the gaudy stats or steals, but she is kind of the one that thwarts the offensive efforts. So it was just really neat. I think that's the coolest thing of coaching is when you see a young person achieve a goal, or you're part of their journey to go from point A to point B. I also look at Ava Hyden's ascension, and I see her confidence, and I see her leaning into being one of the better players in the Big Ten or across the country. I see how she really has impacted this season as well. Those are the moments as coaches that we all really live for. So I was beyond thrilled that I really believe the voters got this one right.
Kyle.
You just kind of mentioned a few minutes ago the process of handling, preparing for the Big Ten tournament, and how you scout and how you prepare and things like that. How important is this experience going to be for this team? I mean, obviously you got Hannah and Kylie who have played in Final Fours, they've played in NCAA tournaments. But you look at like Chit Chat has only played in one NCAA tournament. Ava Hayden, has been through an NCAA tournament, but obviously was not a starter. Taylor Stremlow was not a starter on last year's team. How important is this Big Ten tournament going to be to just have that feeling of what it's like to on the fly, hey, here's who we play tomorrow, here's how quickly we have to game plan and get ready when you have the NCAA tournament coming up?
Yeah, I think those are the things, when we play in some of these preseason tournaments, you'll have sometimes by design when we look at the tournament, and some tournaments are like you have a day to practice, you play another one, maybe you're in Cancun. Some tournaments, you play Friday, Saturday. I always kind of like those because you get a little experience early when everybody's still forming, right? When we went to Florida, that you prepare for the first team, and you kind of have your eye on kind of what we're doing now when we were going to play Baylor or Miami way back, go with me, people, is you kind of had to prepare for both. So then you go through the year, and then there's certain times, everybody in the Big Ten, you only get a 1-day prep. Meaning, with a trip out west, and, just sometimes you got to play 3 games in a week. So then you get a little bit more practice with 1-day prep. So now when you get into a tournament like this, then it's all guts and heart, baby. But you do have that to draw upon if you had success like we did earlier. I've kind of constantly reminded our players, as we've also elected, because due to tired legs, maybe an injury here or there, I have elected to not practice an additional day. And when we could have had a 2-day prep, I've drawn upon what we did cerebrally, what we did with film watching. We didn't go through it. I'm trusting you because you've done X, Y, and Z. So now when you go to the tournament, if you get that first one, then adrenaline usually propels you. So it would be great for our confidence because we're younger than we're older. And, I think regardless if we have Hannah Stuelke or not, this whole thing on Friday is going to look a lot different because it's just been a lot of preparation without having my stalwart leader that changes the game, changes every practice by simply she's on the floor. So the whole approach going into this weekend, will be great experience because, you know, next year, you know, we're not going to have the Hannahs and the Kylies and so forth. I think personally, I'm just, you know, I told Hannah, I just hate not, you know, every minute that I don't get a coacher, it just is another minute that I'm sad about. So yes, I think the prep and the learning and getting these guys the experience and letting them draw upon, you know, what they've done. Journey's already had some amazing minutes against everybody, right? Tegan had some really nice minutes this last Sunday, right? Her minutes were a little better than they were against Purdue when she got called in. You know, those are going to be big. And I'm also understanding that this is a premier tournament in the country. All of these teams are capable of beating anybody. So, you know, game on and blood, sweat, tears. And we're just going to have to find ways.
All right, is everybody good? All right, thanks, Jen.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.